Now let's begin. Adrian Moses had built his career designing museum exhibits that told stories through space and light. He understood that the most powerful narratives emerged from careful arrangement, from the deliberate placement of one truth next to another until the full picture revealed itself. He never imagined he'd need to apply those skills to dismantle his own family. The morning Robert Gorman offered to take 6-year-old Emma fishing started like any other Saturday. Adrian was sketching concepts for the Natural History Museum's new geology wing when his father-in-law appeared in their kitchen, coffee already poured, that familiar broad smile stretching across his weathered face. "Beautiful day for the lake," Robert announced, his voice carrying the practiced warmth that made him a beloved Little League coach and youth center volunteer. "Emma and I should take advantage of it. Give you two some time together." Adrian glanced up from his work. His wife Melissa had that expression again, the one that appeared whenever her father made plans involving Emma. A tightness around her eyes, a forced brightness in her smile. "Dad, maybe not today," Melissa said, wrapping her bathrobe tighter. "Emma's been complaining about her stomach." "I feel fine now, Mommy." Emma bounded into the kitchen, already dressed in her overalls and the fishing hat Robert had given her for her birthday. "Grandpa said we might catch a catfish." Robert's hand settled on Emma's shoulder with the casual ownership that had always made Adrian vaguely uncomfortable, though he'd never been able to articulate why. The Gormans were pillar of the community people. Robert volunteered everywhere. Joyce, Adrian's mother-in-law, ran the church bake sales. They'd welcomed Adrian into the family with open arms when he married Melissa 8 years ago. "Come on, Mel," Robert said, his tone still light, but something harder underneath. "You were fishing with me at her age. Remember those trips? Just grandfather and granddaughter. Special memories." Melissa's face went pale. "I remember." Then it settled. Robert guided Emma toward the door. "We'll be back before dinner. Don't worry so much, sweetheart. She's my granddaughter. I'd never let anything happen to her." Adrian watched them leave, then turned to find Melissa gripping the counter, knuckles white. "You okay?" "Fine." She released her grip, flexing her fingers. "I'm fine. I wish you'd come with them sometimes." "He's never invited me." Adrian set down his pencil. "You want to talk about why you don't want Emma alone with your dad?" "I didn't say that." "Melissa, I need to shower." She left before he could finish, and Adrian heard the bathroom door lock with a decisive click. The call came at 4:30. Robert's voice was strained, urgent. "There's been an accident. We're at St. Catherine's Emergency. Emma fell off the dock. Her arm. You need to come now." Adrian broke 3 traffic laws getting there. He found Robert in the waiting room, dirt on his fishing vest, his expression appropriately distraught. Melissa had arrived first, somehow. She sat rigid in a plastic chair, staring at nothing. "Where is she?" Adrian demanded. "They're casting her arm now," Robert said. "Happened so fast. She was reaching for her pole, lost her balance. Hit the dock support on the way down. I pulled her right out, but you were supposed to watch her." "Adrian." Melissa's voice was hollow. "It was an accident." Something in her tone stopped him cold. Not defensive, not angry, resigned. Dr. Thomas Foley emerged from the treatment area, Emma's x-rays in hand. He was younger than Adrian expected, with tired eyes that suggested he'd seen too much to be surprised by anything. "Mr. and Mrs. Moses? Can we speak privately?" They followed him to a consultation room. Robert moved to join them. "Just the parents," Dr. Foley said firmly. Robert's genial mask slipped for just a second, a flash of something cold, before he smiled and stepped back. "Of course. I'll wait with Emma." "She's sleeping," Dr. Foley said. "We gave her something for the pain." Inside the small room, Dr. Foley arranged the x-rays on the light board. Adrian saw his daughter's small bones, the fresh fracture in her forearm stark and raw. "The break is clean," the doctor said. "It'll heal fine. But when we took these images, we found something else." He pointed to Emma's other arm, her ribs, her leg. 4 healed fractures. Different stages of healing. 3 to 8 months old. The room tilted. "What?" "Old breaks that were never reported, never treated. They healed on their own, but improperly in some cases." Dr. Foley's voice was gentle but unyielding. "Mr. Moses, I'm legally required to report this. These injury patterns, they're consistent with non-accidental trauma." Adrian couldn't breathe. "You think someone. I think your daughter needs protection." Dr. Foley turned to Melissa. "Mrs. Moses, have you noticed anything?" Any unexplained injuries, behavioral changes? Melissa's hands were shaking. She wouldn't look at either of them. Melissa? Adrian grabbed her arm. Did you know about this? Tears spilled down her cheeks. I didn't want to see it. Didn't want to see what? His voice rose. Someone's been hurting our daughter. You don't understand, she whispered. You can't understand. He's my father. He's not. It's not like you think. Dr. Foley stepped between them. Mrs. Moses, I need you to listen very carefully. Someone has been systematically abusing your child. The police will investigate, but right now, today, you need to tell me the truth. Who's been alone with Emma? Robert takes her places, Adrian said, ice forming in his chest. Fishing. Park. His house. Melissa always seemed. She never wanted Emma to go. Because you don't know what he's like when he's angry. Melissa's voice cracked. You don't know what happens if you tell. The confession hung in the air. Dr. Foley's expression hardened. How long have you known? I didn't know. Melissa stood abruptly. I suspected, maybe, but I couldn't. He's different now. Older. I thought maybe he'd changed. I thought if I watched close enough, if I made rules about public places only. Jesus Christ, Melissa. Adrian felt sick. You let him take her anyway? He's my father. He said he was sorry for what he did to me. He said he wanted to make it right with Emma, be the grandfather he couldn't be. She stopped, realizing what she'd admitted. Dr. Foley pulled out his phone. I'm calling Child Protective Services and the police. Mr. Moses, you should know there's something else on these x-rays. He pointed to small, regular marks near Emma's spine. These are injection sites. Multiple punctures, recent. Your daughter's been sedated, probably to keep her quiet or compliant. The world narrowed to a single point of crystalline rage. Adrian understood exhibits, understood how to arrange elements to tell a story. And suddenly he could see the whole picture. Robert's insistence on alone time. Melissa's fear disguised as nervousness. Emma's nightmares she could never quite explain. The way she sometimes flinched from affection. Where's Robert now? Adrian's voice was deadly calm. Mr. Moses. Adrian was already moving, pushing through the door. Robert stood near the vending machines, phone pressed to his ear. He looked up as Adrian approached, and for the first time, Adrian saw behind the mask. Saw the calculation, the contempt, the absolute certainty that he'd get away with it. Adrian, I was just calling Joyce to. Adrian's fist connected with Robert's jaw before he could finish. The older man went down hard, phone skittering across the linoleum. Adrian grabbed him by the collar, hauled him up, slammed him against the wall. You touch my daughter. Each word was a stone. You've been hurting her. You're insane. Blood trickled from Robert's split lip, but his eyes were already working, already spinning the story. This is assault. I'm the victim here. My granddaughter had an accident. The x-rays show 4 old fractures and injection marks. Robert's expression flickered. Just for a second, genuine fear. Then the mask returned. Accidents happen. Kids are fragile. And if there are injection marks, maybe you should ask what Melissa's been doing when you're at work. The calculated cruelty of it, trying to turn this around, trying to blame Melissa, made Adrian's vision go red. His hands tightened. Mr. Moses, Dr. Foley, and 2 security guards pulled him back. Let him go. Robert straightened his shirt, already recovering. I want him arrested. He assaulted me. I'm pressing charges. We've called the police, Dr. Foley said coldly. They'll want to talk to you about Emma's injuries. All of them. Something shifted in Robert's face. The genial grandfather vanished, replaced by something ancient and vicious. You have no idea what you're doing. My lawyers will bury you. I'll get custody of Emma before you can. Get him out of my sight, Adrian said quietly, before I finish what I started. As security escorted Robert away, Adrian heard him already on his phone, calling his lawyer, his voice smooth and reasonable, already building his defense, deploying his reputation like armor. Adrian turned back to the consultation room, where Melissa sat with her head in her hands. Through the window, he could see Emma sleeping in her hospital bed, small and vulnerable, a cast on her arm covering just the latest injury. He'd built his career creating exhibits that revealed truth through careful construction. Now he'd build something else entirely. Robert Gorman thought his reputation and lawyers would save him. He didn't understand that Adrian knew how to take a story apart piece by piece, rearrange it, and show the world exactly what it really meant. The exhibit was about to open. And before it was over, Everyone would see Robert Gorman for exactly what he was. The police interview took 3 hours. Detective Wilson Mayer was a heavy-set man with skeptical eyes and a recorder that he placed deliberately between them. Adrian could feel the man's doubt. Successful community leader versus a father who'd just committed assault. The math wasn't in Adrian's favor. "Walk me through today again," Mayer said. From the beginning. Adrian repeated the story. The fishing trip, the call, the discovery. Mayer listened without expression, occasionally noting something in his pad. "And you struck Mr. Gorman in the hospital. After learning he'd been abusing my daughter." "Yes. Allegedly abusing." Mayer tapped his pen. "Mr. Gorman claims today's injury was accidental. Says the old fractures could have come from anywhere. Playground falls, roughhousing, sports. Kids break bones. Not 4 times without anyone noticing. Not with injection marks. About those." Mayer flipped through his notes. "Mr. Gorman's attorney suggests your wife may have Munchausen by proxy. That she might be injuring the child for attention, then blaming him when suspicion arose." Adrian stood so fast his chair scraped. "That's insane." "Sit down, Mr. Moses." Mayer's voice hardened. "I'm just telling you what's being said. Mr. Gorman has an excellent reputation. 30 years coaching Little League. Volunteer of the Year 3 times. References from the mayor, 2 council members, and the superintendent of schools. What do you have?" "The truth. Truth is what I can prove." Mayer leaned forward. "Right now, I have a child with injuries, multiple possible explanations, and a father who committed assault. CPS has taken temporary custody of your daughter pending investigation. You should be grateful you're not in a cell." The words hit like a physical blow. "They took Emma?" "Standard procedure in abuse cases. She'll stay with a foster family until we sort this out. She doesn't know anyone. She'll be terrified. Should have thought of that before you attacked someone in a hospital." Mayer stood. "Here's my advice. Get a lawyer. Keep your distance from Robert Gorman. Let us investigate. If there's evidence of abuse, we'll find it. And if you don't, then your daughter goes home. And you hope the Gormans don't press charges for assault." Mayer paused at the door. "One more thing. Your wife isn't being cooperative. Won't give a clear statement about her own childhood. Won't confirm or deny abuse. That's not helping your case." After Mayer left, Adrian sat alone in the interview room. Through the wall, he could hear Melissa crying in another room, her voice breaking as she tried to explain something to a female officer. He thought about going to her, then decided against it. Right now, he wasn't sure what he'd say. His phone buzzed. A text from Dale Weber, his best friend since college. "Heard what happened. Coming over. Don't do anything stupid." Too late for that, Adrian thought. But maybe not too late for something smart. He left the station and drove to his workshop, a converted warehouse loft where he built exhibit prototypes. The space smelled of sawdust and paint, familiar and grounding. He pulled out his laptop and a legal pad, then began to work. First, timeline. He mapped out every time Robert had taken Emma alone over the past 8 months. Melissa's calendar sync with his phone gave him dates. Fishing trips. Park visits. Overnight stays at the Gorman's house. 12 occasions total. Second, injuries. From Emma's medical records, which he could still access through their insurance portal, he cross-referenced emergency room visits and doctor's appointments. 3 times for falls. Once for bumping into a door. Twice for playground accidents. The dates aligned almost perfectly with Robert's alone time. Third, pattern. This was where his exhibit design training came in. He created a visual map, photographs of Emma arranged chronologically, injuries marked, dates highlighted. The pattern was unmistakable once you saw it properly displayed. But patterns weren't proof. Mayer was right about that. Dale arrived an hour later with Thai food and beer. He was a defense attorney, sharp-minded and cynical, who'd argued enough cases to understand how the system really worked. "You look like hell," Dale said, unpacking containers. They took Emma. Adrian showed him the timeline. And Robert's already spinning this, blaming Melissa, making himself the victim. Dale studied the display, his expression darkening. "This is bad, Adrian. Really bad. Robert Gorman isn't just some guy. He's connected. His lawyer, I checked, is Marcus Eldridge. The Marcus Eldridge. He doesn't lose cases. Then we make sure there's nothing to lose. Dale set down his beer. "I'm a defense attorney, not whatever you're planning. If you're thinking revenge, I'm thinking evidence." Adrian pulled up another window on his laptop. Robert's house has a basement. Melissa mentioned it once, years ago. Said her father used to send her down there when she misbehaved. She never wanted to talk about it. So basements are where people keep things they don't want found. Adrian opened architectural records from the county assessor. The Gorman's house was built in 1982. Original owner was a doctor. It has what's listed as a recreation room in the basement, but look at the dimensions. There's 300 square feet unaccounted for. Dale leaned closer. A hidden room? Or a walled-off section? Robert's been alone with children for 30 years. If there's a pattern, if there's evidence, it's there. You can't just break into someone's house based on a hunch about architectural plans. I'm not breaking in. I'm visiting my mother-in-law. Adrian pulled out his phone and called Joyce Gorman. She answered on the third ring, her voice trembling. Adrian? Oh, Adrian. This is all such a terrible misunderstanding. Robert would never. Joyce, I need to talk to you. In person. Without Robert. He gentled his voice, the way he did when coaxing skittish museum donors. I know you want to believe in him. But I also know you want the truth about Emma. Will you give me an hour? Please. A long pause. Then, Robert's at his lawyer's office. He'll be gone until late. Come now if you're coming. Adrian grabbed his jacket. Dale caught his arm. This is a bad idea. Whatever you're planning. I'm planning to protect my daughter. Adrian pulled free. You can help or you can leave, but I'm doing this. Dale sighed. I'll drive. If you're going to commit a felony, you should at least have a getaway driver. The Gorman house sat on 2 manicured acres in an upscale neighborhood. Adrian had been here dozens of times for family dinners, holidays, Emma's birthday parties. He'd never seen it as a crime scene before. Now he couldn't see it as anything else. Joyce answered the door looking a decade older than she had that morning. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her hands shaking as she led them inside. Would you like coffee? I just made. Joyce. Adrian took her hands. I need you to tell me the truth. About Melissa. About what Robert did to her. She pulled away, wrapping her arms around herself. I don't know what Melissa told you, but she's always been dramatic. Sensitive. Robert was strict with her, yes, but that's not abuse. That's parenting. She was afraid to let Emma be alone with him. She's paranoid. Ever since she was a teenager, making up stories. What kind of stories? Joyce's face crumpled. It wasn't. He never meant to hurt her. He just wanted her to behave. To be good. And she was so difficult sometimes, so willful. What did he do, Joyce? The question hung between them. Through the window, Adrian could see Dale waiting in the car, phone in hand, ready to call if things went wrong. He had rules, Joyce whispered. If she broke them, there were consequences. Time in the basement, mostly. Sometimes he had to discipline her. But it was for her own good. To make her strong. He broke her bones. No. Joyce's voice rose. That's not. Those were accidents. She fell down the basement stairs once. And another time she tried to run away and slipped. Robert felt terrible about it. He cried, Adrian. I saw him cry. Did he cry when he was injecting Emma with sedatives? Joyce's face went blank. What? The X-rays show injection marks. Someone's been drugging my daughter. She sat down heavily. For a long moment, she just stared at her hands. Then, sometimes Melissa couldn't sleep. After discipline sessions, Robert said a little something to help her rest was kind. Merciful. The doctor prescribed it. What doctor? I don't remember. Someone Robert knew from his volunteer work. Adrian felt the pieces clicking into place. I need to see the basement. Robert wouldn't like. Robert doesn't get a vote. Show me, Joyce. If there's nothing there, fine. But if there is, don't you want to know? Don't you want to be sure Emma's safe? She stood slowly, like a woman walking to her execution, and led him to a door off the kitchen. The basement stairs were steep and narrow, exactly the kind you could claim someone fell down. The recreation room at the bottom was pristine, pool table, bar, trophy cases showing Robert's coaching awards. Adrian studied the space, measuring with his eyes. Where's the extra 300 square feet? I don't understand. He strode to the far wall, knocking on panels. Solid. Solid. Hollow. There. Behind a trophy case was a door, painted the same color as the wall, nearly invisible unless you knew to look. What's in there? Adrian asked. Joyce's face was white. His workshop. He doesn't like me going in there. Open it. I don't have a key. Adrian grabbed the trophy case and shoved. It moved easier than expected, revealing a lock on the door. A simple household lock. He pulled out his wallet, extracted a library card, and worked the lock the way his locksmith uncle had taught him as a kid. It popped open. The smell hit him first. Antiseptic. And underneath, something worse. Something old and rotten. The room beyond was small, maybe 10 by 15. A mattress on the floor. Restraints bolted to the wall. A cabinet full of medical supplies, sedatives, syringes, bandages. A video camera on a tripod, pointing at the mattress. And photographs. Dozens of them, pinned to a corkboard. Emma. Other children Adrian didn't recognize. Dates written on the backs, ranging over 20 years. Joyce made a sound like a wounded animal. Adrian pulled out his phone with shaking hands and started photographing everything. The room. The supplies. The photos. Every detail documented. You knew, he said quietly. Some part of you knew. I thought he stopped. Joyce's voice was barely audible. When Melissa left home, when he started coaching, I thought he'd channeled it into something good. I wanted to believe. You wanted to believe more than you wanted to protect children. She collapsed against the wall, sobbing. Adrian felt no sympathy. He finished photographing, then called Detective Mayer. I need you to get a warrant for the Gorman house, he said when Mayer answered. I'm in the basement. You'll want to see this. Mr. Moses, did you just break into? Joyce let me in. She's here. She can confirm. But Mayer, listen, there's evidence here. Decades of it. Robert Gorman isn't just an abuser. He's been doing this for years. He heard Mayer bark orders to someone in the background. Don't touch anything. Don't move. I'm coming now. Adrian hung up and looked at Joyce. The police are coming. You're going to tell them everything. Every detail. Every time you suspected and did nothing. Do you understand? She nodded, still crying. And Joyce, if you lie, if you protect him at all, I will make sure everyone knows you were complicit. Every parent in his little league. Every family at your church. Everyone. Dale appeared at the top of the stairs. Adrian, we need to go before. We're staying. Adrian climbed the stairs, phone full of evidence. We're going to wait for the police, and we're going to make sure this is done right. Outside, night was falling. In the distance, Adrian heard sirens. He thought about Emma in some foster home, scared and alone. About Melissa who'd known and done nothing. About Robert Gorman who'd spent 30 years perfecting his crimes. The exhibit was just beginning. And before it ended, everyone would see the full picture. The police raid on the Gorman house made the evening news. Adrian watched from his workshop as camera crews filmed officers carrying boxes of evidence from the basement. Robert, arrested at his lawyer's office, was shown in handcuffs denying everything. His voice was steady, reasonable, shocked by the allegations. This is a vendetta by my son-in-law, Robert told reporters. He's unstable. He attacked me at the hospital. Now he's manufacturing evidence to cover his own family's dysfunction. Marcus Eldridge, Robert's attorney, stood beside him like a shark in a $1,000 suit. My client maintains his innocence. These allegations are baseless. We'll prove that in court. Detective Mayer appeared next, stone-faced. We've recovered significant evidence. I can't comment on an ongoing investigation, but I can confirm that Mr. Gorman is being charged with multiple counts of child abuse, possession of child pornography, and administering controlled substances to a minor. More charges may follow. Adrian's phone had been ringing nonstop. Reporters wanting statements. Melissa calling from her mother's hotel room, where she'd fled after learning about the basement. Dale checking in every hour. But the call that mattered came at midnight from an unknown number. Mr. Moses? This is Teresa Rollins. The voice was female, mid-30s, shaking slightly. I saw the news. About Robert Gorman. Yes. He coached my brother's little league team. 20 years ago. My brother. He never talked about what happened. But after practice one day, he came home with bruises. And sometimes he'd sleep too much, like he'd been drugged. My parents thought he was just tired from sports. Adrian's grip tightened on the phone. What happened to your brother? He killed himself when he was 17. Left a note that didn't make sense to anyone. Just said he was sorry, that he couldn't make it stop. Her voice broke. I think Robert was hurting him. I think there might be others. How many others? I've been making calls. So far, I've found 6 families with similar stories. Boys who were on his teams. All of them showed signs, behavioral changes, injuries, depression. 3 more suicides. We never connected it before because he was Coach Gorman. Everyone loved him. Adrian felt sick. Will you testify? I will. We all will. But Mr. Moses, you need to understand. Robert has the best lawyers money can buy. They're going to attack your credibility, your marriage, everything. They're already planting stories about your wife's mental health. This is going to get ugly. It's already ugly. The question is whether we make sure he pays for it. Then count us in. I'll send you the contact information for the other families. We'll build a case he can't escape. After she hung up, Adrian sat in the dark workshop, thinking. Robert was in jail, but bail would be set in the morning. With his connections, he'd be out by noon. The trial could take a year or more. And trials were unpredictable, especially with a lawyer like Eldridge who specialized in destroying witnesses. The law would move slowly. But Adrian understood something that the legal system didn't. Public opinion moved fast. Reputation was a fragile thing, built over years and demolished in moments. Robert had weaponized his reputation. Adrian would turn that weapon against him. He opened his laptop and began to work. First, he built a website. Simple, clean, devastating. Photos from the basement room, edited to remove identifying details of victims, but clear enough to show the restraints, the supplies, the camera equipment. Testimony from Teresa Rollins and the other families, properly anonymized. A timeline of Robert's coaching career matched against reported incidents of child trauma in those teams. Then he created a video, 3 minutes long, using his exhibit design skills to maximum effect. Images dissolving into each other, telling a story without narration. Robert's awards and accolades. Smiling photos with Little League teams. Then the basement. The evidence. The pattern emerging from shadow. He titled it, The Exhibit, Robert Gorman. Dale arrived at 2 a.m. to find Adrian uploading the video to every social media platform, the website going live simultaneously. This is a mistake, Dale said. Eldridge will sue you for defamation. The judge could rule this prejudices the trial. You could end up in jail. I could end up watching Robert walk free because some jury decides he's too respectable to be guilty. Adrian hit publish. This way, everyone sees the truth before the lawyers spin it. You're gambling your freedom. I'm gambling nothing. Every fact on that site is documented. Every image is from evidence the police seized. I'm not accusing him of anything he hasn't been charged with. I'm just arranging the information in a way people can understand. The video went viral by dawn. Within 6 hours, it had 10 million views. Within 12, it was on every news network. The website crashed from traffic, then came back up on emergency servers. By that evening, protests had formed outside the jail. Parents from Robert's Little League teams, horrified and furious. Victims who hadn't come forward before, suddenly finding courage in numbers. The mayor announced a full investigation into the youth center's screening procedures. The church removed Robert from their leadership roster. Marcus Eldridge held a press conference condemning Adrian's digital lynch mob and promising lawsuits. But even as he spoke, his body language suggested a lawyer facing a losing battle. Adrian's phone rang. Detective Mayer, his voice different than before. Respectful. That was a hell of a thing you did, Moses. Illegal as hell, probably, but effective. We've had 47 new victims come forward in the past 12 hours. The DA's adding charges daily. Eldridge is already putting out feelers about a plea deal. No deals. He goes to trial. That's not your call. Make it my call. I have 6 more exhibits ready to go. Detailed analyses of his methods, timeline maps, expert testimony from child psychologists. I'll release one a week until trial if I have to. Mayer was quiet for a moment. Then, you're playing with fire. I'm lighting a fire. There's a difference. Adrian paused. What about Emma? Can I see her? CPS is reviewing the case. With Robert in custody and new evidence clearing your wife of involvement, probably soon. Few more days. And Melissa? That's between you two. But Moses? What you built here, it's the kind of thing that changes cases. Just don't get so caught up in destroying Gorman that you forget to rebuild your own family. After hanging up, Adrian walked to the window. Outside, people were gathering, parents, victims, reporters. Someone had projected his video onto the side of a building across the street. Others held signs demanding justice. His phone buzzed with a text from Melissa. I'm sorry. For everything. Can we talk? Adrian stared at the message for a long time before responding. Not yet. But soon. When Emma comes home. Because that was what mattered. Not revenge, not vindication. Getting his daughter back safely. Making sure she never had to be afraid again. But first, he had an exhibit to finish. Robert Gorman's bail hearing became a circus. The courthouse steps were packed with protesters, news vans lined the streets, and security had to clear a path for the lawyers to enter. Adrian watched from the gallery as Robert was led in wearing an orange jumpsuit, his hands cuffed. The man who'd always seemed larger than life looked diminished somehow, shoulders hunched, eyes darting. Marcus Eldridge rose immediately. "Your Honor, my client is a respected member of this community with deep ties, who's currently facing 73 counts of child abuse and related charges." Judge Kara Higgins interrupted. She was a stern woman in her 60s, known for her no-nonsense approach. "The prosecution has presented evidence of flight risk, including offshore accounts and a property in Costa Rica. Bail is denied." Robert's composure cracked. "This is insane. I'm being railroaded. Mr. Gorman, you'll have your day in court. Until then, you'll remain in custody." Judge Higgins banged her gavel. "We're adjourned." As guards led Robert away, he locked eyes with Adrian. The hatred there was pure and focused. Adrian met his gaze without flinching, then pulled out his phone and uploaded Exhibit Number 2, a detailed analysis of the medical evidence, showing how Robert had used his position to access prescription sedatives through complicit doctors. The video was live before Robert reached his cell. Outside the courthouse, Teresa Rollins was giving an interview. "This isn't about revenge. This is about justice for all the children he hurt. My brother never got justice, but maybe now others will." A reporter thrust a microphone at Adrian. "Mr. Moses, some say your social media campaign is prejudicing the jury pool. How do you respond?" Robert Gorman prejudiced his victims for decades. "I'm just making sure the truth gets told." Adrian pushed past them toward his car, where Dale waited. "You know Eldridge filed a motion to suppress your exhibits," Dale said as they drove away. "Claims they're contaminating potential jurors. Let him file. Every motion keeps the story in the news. You're becoming vindictive, Adrian. I'm saying this as your friend. There's a line between justice and obsession." Adrian didn't answer. He was already planning Exhibit 3, a map showing Robert's movements over 30 years, cross-referenced with reports of missing children in those areas. 3 cases where boys had vanished after being in Robert's programs. Cases that had gone cold decades ago. At home, the house felt empty without Emma. Adrian found Melissa waiting on the porch. She looked like a ghost of herself, pale and drawn. "I gave my full statement to the police," she said, "about what he did to me. Everything. They recorded it." "Good. Adrian, I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I knew something was wrong, and I didn't stop it. I thought if I watched closely enough, if I set rules." "You thought you could control him." Adrian unlocked the door. "You can't control predators. You can only stop them. I should have stopped him years ago." "Yes." He turned to face her. "You should have. And that's something you'll have to live with. But right now, I need to focus on getting Emma back. Can I help?" "You can testify. Make sure the jury sees what he did to you. Make them understand the pattern." Melissa nodded. "The prosecutor called. They want me to testify about the basement. About what happened when I was 12. Will you?" "Yes." Her voice was small but steady. "I'll tell them everything." Over the next 3 weeks, Adrian built his case in the court of public opinion while the DA built theirs in court. Exhibit 3 revealed the missing children connection. 2 of them had last been seen at Robert's baseball camps. Local police reopened those investigations. Exhibit 4 featured interviews with child psychologists explaining grooming techniques, with Robert's methods highlighted as textbook examples. Exhibit 5 was a financial analysis showing unexplained cash withdrawals matching dates when children reported abuse. Payments to keep people quiet. Each exhibit dropped like a bomb. Each one brought new victims forward, new evidence, new witnesses. Marcus Eldridge fought back with his own media campaign. Character witnesses, appeals to presumption of innocence, attacks on Adrian's credibility. But the tide had turned. Then, 2 days before the trial was set to begin, something unexpected happened. Joyce Gorman called Adrian. "I found something," she said. Her voice was hollow, defeated. "In Robert's safe deposit box. I had a key he didn't know about. There are videos. Dozens of them. From the basement room. And records. Names. Dates. He documented everything. Why are you calling me?" "Because I want to make this right. Whatever I can do." She paused. "I'm going to give everything to the police." "And Adrian, there's a video from this year. From February. It's Emma. He recorded what he did to her. Adrian's hand clenched around the phone. Send me the location of the safe deposit box. I'll make sure Detective Mayer gets it. I already called him. He's meeting me at the bank now. Another pause. I'm turning myself in too. For obstruction, for anything they want to charge me with. It's time this ended. The new evidence was devastating. The DA added additional charges. Eldridge's defense crumbled. Faced with video evidence of his crimes, Robert Gorman accepted a plea deal. Life in prison without possibility of parole. The sentencing hearing was scheduled for the following week. Adrian spent that week with Emma, who'd been returned to his custody. She was different, quieter, more cautious. She flinched at sudden movements and had nightmares. But she was home, and she was safe. "Daddy," she asked one night as he tucked her in. "Is Grandpa going to come back?" "No, sweetheart. Never." "Good." She clutched her stuffed rabbit tighter. "I was scared to tell you." He said if I told, bad things would happen. "You can always tell me. And nothing bad will happen. I promise." "Will Mommy come back?" Adrian had been avoiding this question. Melissa was living at a hotel, giving them space. They'd talked a few times, painful conversations about therapy, about rebuilding trust, about whether their marriage could survive what had happened. "I don't know yet," he told Emma honestly. "But whether Mommy and I are together or not, we both love you very much. That won't change." Emma nodded and closed her eyes. Adrian sat with her until she fell asleep, then went to his workshop to finish the final exhibit. This one wasn't for public consumption. This one was for Robert. The sentencing hearing was packed. Victim after victim took the stand to give impact statements. Young men in their 20s and 30s, describing how Robert's abuse had destroyed their childhoods, their relationships, their lives. Parents sobbing as they recounted the signs they'd missed. Teresa Rollins reading her brother's suicide note. When it was Adrian's turn, he walked to the podium with a tablet computer. "Your Honor, I'd like to show something." Judge Higgins nodded. Adrian connected the tablet to the courtroom display and pulled up his final exhibit, a three-dimensional interactive model of Robert's crimes. Every victim, every incident, every piece of evidence, arranged in space and time to show the full scope and pattern of his predation. It was masterful work, the culmination of everything Adrian knew about creating exhibits that told stories. The courtroom watched in silence as the display rotated, showing 3 decades of systematic abuse, each point of light representing a destroyed childhood. "Robert Gorman didn't make mistakes," Adrian said quietly. "He didn't have moments of weakness. He was a predator who built his entire life around access to vulnerable children. He used his reputation as a weapon and his community standing as camouflage, and he would have continued if not for one accident that revealed what he really was." He turned to look at Robert directly. "You hurt my daughter. You broke her bones and drugged her and terrified her. But you failed to break her spirit. She's 6 years old, and she's braver than you'll ever be. And every day for the rest of your life, you're going to be in a cage, and she's going to be free." Adrian returned to his seat. Robert sat motionless, face blank, but his hands were trembling. Judge Higgins spoke. "Robert Gorman, I've reviewed the evidence and heard the statements. What you've done represents one of the most systematic and prolonged patterns of child abuse this court has seen. You exploited your position of trust to harm dozens of children over 3 decades. You are sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Additionally, I'm recommending you be placed in general population, not protective custody." The courtroom knew what that meant. In prison, child abusers were the lowest form of life. Robert would have no protection from other inmates. For the first time, real fear showed on Robert's face. As guards led him away, Adrian felt Dale's hand on his shoulder. "It's over." "No," Adrian said, watching Robert disappear through the door. "Now it's over." Outside, reporters swarmed. Adrian made a brief statement. "Justice was served today. But this isn't just about Robert Gorman. It's about creating systems that protect children better. It's about believing victims. It's about not being blinded by reputation and respectability." Teresa Rollins joined him at the microphone. "We're forming a foundation in my brother's name to support abuse victims and fund better screening for youth programs. Mr. Moses has agreed to help design educational exhibits for schools." The questions came rapid fire. How did he feel? What came next? What about his marriage? Adrian waved them off and walked to his car. He had one more thing to do. The prison visiting room was gray and sterile. Robert appeared on the other side of the plexiglass wearing a standard-issue jumpsuit, looking smaller than Adrian had ever seen him. They picked up phones simultaneously. "You won," Robert said flatly. "Congratulations." "I didn't win. Emma won. All your victims won. You just lost. You destroyed my life with your little art project. Poisoned the whole jury pool before trial even started. That's not justice. You destroyed children's lives for 30 years. I showed people who you really were. That's exactly justice." Robert's mask slipped back into place. That genial, reasonable expression that had fooled so many. "You think you're better than me? You broke into my house. You assaulted me. You're no hero, Adrian. You're just another thug who got lucky. The difference is, I did it to protect children. You did it to hurt them. I gave those kids discipline, structure, something their weak parents couldn't provide. You raped and beat and drugged children." Adrian's voice was cold steel. "You're a monster. And now everyone knows it." Robert leaned closer to the glass. "You think prison scares me? I've been in worse places. You think the other inmates are going to hurt me? I can handle myself. I know they will. And I know you can't." Adrian smiled. "See, I sent your videos to everyone in there. Made sure they all know exactly what you did to children. You're going to spend every day looking over your shoulder, wondering when it's coming." The color drained from Robert's face. You can't. I already did. The same way you documented your crimes so carefully, I documented your confession. Every detail. And I made sure it reached the right people." Adrian stood. "You wanted to break children. Now you get to see what it feels like to be powerless and afraid. Enjoy the rest of your life, Robert." He hung up the phone and walked out. Behind him, he heard Robert screaming, pounding on the glass. The guards moved in. Adrian didn't look back. Outside, Melissa was waiting by his car. She looked nervous, hopeful, broken. "How do you want to do this?" he asked. "Divorce? Separation? Therapy? I want to fix it," she said. "I know I don't deserve another chance. But Emma needs both of us. And I love you. I was just so broken that I couldn't protect her the way you did." Adrian thought about it. About trust shattered and slowly rebuilt. About Emma needing her mother. About whether some betrayals could be forgiven. "Therapy," he said finally. "For you. For us. For Emma. And you move back in, but we sleep in separate rooms until I can trust you again. Which might be never. I'll take it. And Melissa, if you ever put Emma at risk again, if you keep any secret that could hurt her, I will take her and disappear so fast you'll never find us." "I understand." They drove home in silence. Emma was waiting with the babysitter, coloring pictures of butterflies. She looked up when they entered, and her face lit up at seeing Melissa. "Mommy." Melissa scooped her up, crying. "I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. Mommy made mistakes. But I'm going to do better." Adrian watched them, feeling the weight of the past month settle on his shoulders. It wasn't a happy ending. It was just an ending of one chapter and the beginning of another, uncertain one. But Robert Gorman was in a cage. Emma was safe. And that was enough. That night, after Emma was asleep and Melissa was in the guest room, Adrian returned to his workshop one final time. He deleted all his exhibits, every file, every piece of evidence. The public had seen enough. The story was told. He was about to shut down his computer when an email arrived. From the mother of one of Robert's victims, thanking him for giving her son justice. Then another. And another. Dozens of emails from families he'd never met, grateful that someone had finally stopped Robert Gorman. Adrian read them all. Then he opened a new file and began to sketch. Not an exhibit about Robert. An exhibit about survival. About the courage of children who endured the unendurable. About the path from victim to survivor to thriver. He'd destroyed Robert Gorman's reputation and legacy. Now it was time to build something better. The work would take months, maybe years. But Adrian Moses understood exhibits. He understood how to arrange truth and light to tell a story that needed telling. And this story, of resilience, of justice, of protecting the vulnerable, was just beginning. 3 months later, the exhibit opened at the Children's Museum. Unbroken, Stories of Strength. It featured anonymous testimonials from abuse survivors, resources for families, information about recognizing warning signs. Emma's painting of a butterfly hung in the center, alongside dozens of other children's art representing their journeys from darkness to light. On opening night, over 300 people attended. Victims and their families. Advocates and educators. People who'd been touched by Robert's crimes and wanted to transform that pain into purpose. Adrian stood with Emma and Melissa, still working through therapy, still rebuilding, and watched people move through the space he'd created. "Did we win, Daddy?" Emma asked, holding his hand. Adrian looked down at his daughter, who was brave and strong and healing. "Yes, sweetheart, we won." And for the first time in months, he believed it. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.